talk about poly relationships, we have both Gwen Stacy's.
Hi, Gwen.
All right, you guys ready to talk about open relationships and poly relationships?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Yo, what's up? This is your boy, Black Spiderman, and welcome to show number 3, where we will be talking about poly relationships and open relationships. Do they work? Do they don't work? What are the pros and what are the cons? And to help me discuss poly relationships today, we have 2 of my girlfriends on the show. By coincidence, both my Gwens came on the show to help talk about poly relationships. So I want you guys to give a hand to both Gwen Stacy's. Thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Hello. All right, so today we're going to be talking about poly relationships. So just so I can explain more clearly what polygamy and polyamorous is, they're actually 2 different things. Polyamorous relationships is when an individual can have multiple partners, but his partner is also allowed to have multiple partners. That's a polyamorous relationship. Polygamy, on the other hand, is something different. Polygamy is where a person can have multiple partners. Let's say a man can have multiple women, but the women cannot have multiple men. They're exclusive to him. So that's the difference between a polygamy and a polyamorous relationship. And an open relationship is just everybody just screwing everybody. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about today is a polyamorous relationship and polygamy. That's what we're going to start off talking about. All right, so what do you guys think about a poly relationship? Do you think it can work? Do you think it won't work? What do you guys think about a poly relationship? Is it okay?
I think it really depends on the people and like how honest they are with each other and like the trust that they have built. I think there's definitely people that are like happy and successful in like poly relationships, but some people it's just like not for them.
Okay. Would you agree with that?
It's definitely the way you do it. You have to make sure you do it right.
Well, you're doing it with multiple people, so you better make sure you're doing it right. So would you say you're for it, against it, or you're neutral?
Are you talking about in my personal preference?
Like,
or
yeah,
like
when it comes to just polyamorous, are you for it, against it, or you're neutral about it? You don't have a stance on it.
Yeah, I don't judge other people for like what they're doing in the relationship.
Okay. I do. All right, so what about you? Are you for, against, or neutral about it? Polyamorous relationships.
Very neutral.
Very neutral? Okay. Do you guys know anyone in a poly relationship?
Yeah, I've known people that are in.
Okay. So do you know if it went well for them or what?
So when I was 16, my first boyfriend, his parents were poly. So his mom was, she had a girlfriend and a boyfriend.
Okay.
And then the dad had his own girlfriend and the girlfriend had a husband. And they were all happy. The mom ended up getting pregnant and had like a kid.
Okay.
And
was the kid poly too? I'm just playing.
No, so like both dads, like they referred to like both her husband and her boyfriend as like dad. They didn't get the kid DNA tested. They just like one family unit. They
didn't get the kid DNA tested?
No, they didn't want to know who it was.
Do not follow that advice, gentlemen. Always test your baby. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. So you had some experience dealing with polyamorous relationship. Do you think it worked out for them?
I think like as far as I know, like they're still doing it, and it's been 4 or 5 years, and multiple years before that.
Okay. What about you? Did you have any experience with poly relationships?
I've never had an experience in one, but definitely recommended it before.
Someone recommended it to you?
No, I recommended it. Like
you
thought about it.
Okay.
I thought about it before, but until I read up a little more about it. But again, definitely the way you do it.
Okay. So, but right now, would you recommend it now?
The way I would do it would be like.
Well, let me hear your definition of how you would do it. Tell me how you would do it.
Well.
This is just a disclaimer. This is just her idea. This is not necessarily what she would do. What? You ain't got like sheep or nothing coming in with you. We talking about people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just like maybe like like 2 females and a guy all in a relationship. You feel me?
Okay. Are you?
I am.
I did not know that. I didn't know that. So I've noticed though that a lot of people in poly relationships, like you said, usually either a man or a woman, they're. I have noticed that trend.
Pretty sure it would help out.
Yeah. Because you can have polyamorous relationships and not be bi.
Yeah.
But I just noticed it seems like a lot of them are bisexual, whether it's the man or woman.
I think it definitely helps with the dynamic a little bit. Like, there's no, like, a man's not going to get jealous of, like, another girl.
Yeah, definitely we won't get jealous of it. Now, I will get jealous of another guy. I'll be honest with you. Well, first of all, just to let y'all know, I'm not really with thought. This is just for the topic. I like to stay one man, one woman. However, given the choice and the option, I would prefer two women without another guy in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So you're for it or against it? Because earlier you said neutral, and then now you said you have your own ways of dealing with it. So which one is it?
As far as being in a relationship and they're able to talk to other people, I'm able to talk to other people like that. I'm not really for.
Okay.
But as far as we're all together, then yeah, I'm for that.
So that's kind of more. So basically, if y'all are just exclusive with y'all little group.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's a little bit of polygamy, a little bit of open relationship. You just dabbing in a little bit of each and just kind of made your own. Yeah. Poly-Gwen relationship. How about that? All right. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. What are some pros to a poly relationship?
I think a person gets to explore other things that they may be interested in.
Freedom.
Without
Exploration.
Without I think if it's agreed upon and it's the trust is there, then
trust.
Yeah. So I think a person's able to explore other options without jeopardizing something that's really important to them or giving that up.
Exploration and trust, and then she said some other stuff between that. But yeah, I got exploration and trust. So those are some pretty good answers. What do you think? Same thing. Freedom. Fun.
Adventurous.
We could go through all the F words. I'm just kidding. We're gonna edit that F word out.
I guess you get to say that you get the best of both worlds because you're into both genders.
Right.
So and your ideal concept.
It's not gonna get boring.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always something new you can do.
Okay.
Definitely make sure you have self-confidence.
All right. So you think self-confidence helps in a poly relationship?
Right.
Have you guys always felt this way, or is this something that you learned?
I mean, so I was obviously introduced to the concepts when I was 16, but I think that there's definitely people that are able to be successful and be happy, especially in the circumstance you're talking about. I think jealousies doesn't really come into play that much unless one person's getting more attention than the other. Right. So I definitely think there's people that are able to be happy and good for them, whether they are poly their entire life or they settle down. I think that's kind of their business. Those are some of the cons. There's some other cons. What other cons do you think there is? She mentioned jealousy. Are there any other cons to having a polyamorous relationship? I think different ones have different dynamics, whether it's an actual relationship or the person's able to go and see other people, which is a little bit more of an open relationship, but able to go and search around. I think sexual health is a big concern, and that needs to be discussed. Okay, all right. So, would you say you would increase your chances of, or I guess it just depends on. It depends on the dynamic of the relationship. Okay. Yeah. All right. Me personally, I think it kind of increases your chances. I've noticed personally, people who suggest a poly relationship, a lot of time they already got somebody in mind. That's what I think. Let's say they have a girlfriend and someone else is talking to him on this, and he wanna get with her, but he don't want to break up with his girlfriend, but he want to test the waters over there. Then he or she may suggest a poly relationship. Do you think poly relationships are just basically the spouse saying, I want to be able to cheat, but I don't want to have that label as a cheater? What do you think? I mean, I think there might be circumstances where they have another person in mind and that's what they want. And if their partner is okay with the fact that they've built that connection with somebody else, maybe it wasn't intentional, then that's them, how they got into it. But I don't think it's based off wanting to cheat, especially if it's closed, where they just she's into two different things. She likes apples and oranges, and she just wants to be able to have both. Okay, all right. Yeah.
I think banana would be the appropriate fruit here. But anyway, what do you think? Do you agree with her, or do you think people who suggest polyamorous relationships basically want to cheat but don't want to be called a cheater? Do you agree with that?
I don't.
You don't?
I think people might disguise it as that. I think cheaters do definitely try to like play on that, and I've had experience with
Some
that.
people probably, but I think some people just want to try. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're gonna bleep that out.
Like, just sometimes being in a relationship for like years, things can get boring. Doing the same thing over and over, things can get a little boring. So trying new stuff can make it last longer.
See, I think polyamorous, like I said, I don't agree with it, but if it was to work, I think it would only work is if it was agreed upon from the beginning. Like, as soon as you meet the person, like you're not thinking of nobody else, I'm not thinking of nobody else, but we say, hey, this relationship is going to be a polyamorous relationship. Because to me, I just think like, if I'm happy in a relationship with you, and you come with me and say, hey, what do you think about polyamorous relationship? First thing I'm gonna think is, well, who you think about banging when I'm not around? Because why all of a sudden, if we've been together for a year or two, why all of a sudden you want to just talk about a poly relationship? Either I'm not satisfying you, or there's someone else that you think is gonna satisfy you, but at the same time you don't want to lose me in the process. That's how I think. That's how I would think most men think like that.
Think that's how you're thinking. So,
yeah, it's just my opinion, and I would have to say most men. Maybe not women, but I always have to say most men who's watching this channel probably agree with me. Leave the comments below whether you agree or disagree with what I said, whether polyamorous relationships are just basically a means of cheating, but still being able to keep your partner.
I personally have experience with a friend who had been with her husband since they were like 16, 15. And so they had been together their entire high school, all of college. They got married. They had never been with anybody but that one person. And they wanted to kind of like, they didn't like, obviously when they're 16, they're not like, oh, like we want to like in the future, 8 years from now, like be seeing other people. But they like came to the conclusion to like kind of spice up their sex life a little bit, that they were going to like go and see other things, and they still came home to each other. And like, was that something that they like kept doing for like a long time? I don't think so. I think they like eventually like got their experience, or like, yeah, like we still like love each other and we only want to be with each other. Yeah. But I don't think it has to be agreed upon at the beginning, but I definitely think there should be like a time frame that like, I think after like a certain amount of time, especially if it like in that circumstance where they're just trying to explore, I think that there definitely has to be like a little bit more than a year. I would say like more than 3 years if it's just like an exploration thing.
Yeah, I do value you guys' opinion, but like I said, I have my own opinion, and the only girl that I want to be exploring is someone, that's her job. Other than that, I think our one-on-one relationship should be enough. And if it isn't enough, we should just break up, move on, and you could go bang whatever coworker you were thinking about banging anyway. Because to be honest, when I say this, I'm not talking about gender specific. This is men do the same thing too. They got a girl that they want to get with, and then they start proposing these ideas that was never there in the beginning. So I'm not a big fan of it, like I said, but these are just opinions. We're just talking about the issue. So a lot of people feel that in this day and age, things have kind of shifted in terms of what people believe a relationship should be. I'm more of an old school. I like the old school style one-on-one relationship. Believe it or not, men, especially when we get older, we don't really want to just screw all day. When we're in our teens, we're early 20s, and our hormones are kicking in, but when we become in our 30s, 40s, we want meaningful relationship. And to me, you can't have a meaningful relationship if there's multiple people. In fact, I can't put 100%, I can't give one person 100% if I have 3 other people on the side, to me. So someone is going to suffer somewhere, whether I'm showing you too much time, or I'm showing her too much time, or I'm showing her too much time. Somebody's going to be shown less time. Not to mention, each of the time, it won't be quality time.
Yeah.
We were talking about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have one person that I spend genuine quality time with, that I vibe with, than to have multiple persons, but then each person is like, it's a superficial quality time?
I think it definitely goes back to like your attention, like what, like the people that like the first people that like the first couple, like my like 16-year-old boyfriend's parents, that like mom and dad were married. They like had 2 kids together, and they weren't like, they knew that like those were the mains, and then they had like a side piece, and like the side piece was very aware that they were the side piece. In fact, the dad's girlfriend was married too, and so like they were very aware of like their place in the relationship, and maybe it was like purely sexual, maybe they like wanted something else that that person like wasn't like giving, but like I think if you know your place in it, then like the time commitment shouldn't be like a problem, because like that goes back to like polyamory versus polygamy versus polyamorous. So like polygamy, like I think it's definitely hard to have like multiple women and all their like love and attention supposed to come from one man that has to divide it. But I think like polyamorous people, like as long as you know your place in the relationship and like what to expect, then like there shouldn't be problems.
Do you think the rise in dating apps contribute to all these polyamorous relationship growing? Because you never really heard about that in the past, but now with these dating apps, there's so much options to choose from, especially for women. Because when y'all go on the dating apps, immediately y'all get hits, immediately, and you got all these men to choose from. Do you think that kind of increased the rise of poly relationships today?
I think like it makes it more accessible. I don't know if there's like an actual rise, because like you have to think like there was swinger parties in the 60s. Like people had entire organizations where they would like go all to one person's house and like throw their keys in a bowl, and the person who picked up the keys is the person they went home with. But I also think that was a little hush hush, and now like people are like more open to like other things. They don't have like such conservative mindsets about like everything. I think it's talked about a little bit more, but whether it's like an actual rise is like, but it's definitely changed in format. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more accessible to find like a third person through a dating app.
Okay. You agree with that? Do you think too many options is a good or a bad thing?
Bad.
You think it's bad? So you think having too many options is bad, but at the same time, you kind of agree.
It can be hard to shuffle through.
To shuffle
and
through.
You might miss the wrong
one. So you're saying it's bad because it hurt your thumbs shuffling through all of the guys at the same.
It could be bad because you might get tired and overlook, and then that might be the one.
Yeah.
And you done overlooked it because you've been shuffling through so many.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you bring up a point that I was going to touch on in terms of when you have so many options. I think, like, you ever walked into a store and you're looking to buy a new phone, right? You ask them, what phone should I get? And then they show you all these phones, and you're like, man, which one should I get?
Right.
I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. See, that's called analysis paralysis. But I think it's the same thing when it comes to relationship. If you're scanning through all these women, you're like, man, she's hot, or man, he's hot, he's good looking, he's this, he's that, he's that. Like, you can't just settle with just one, because all right, if that doesn't work out, I can just go to him. And women can bounce around easier than men can. Men, it's really a little bit more difficult for men, unless you're like, freaking, one of the top tier guys, But women is so much easier because, for example, if you're a 9, right? Any guy will sleep with you, if you're a 9. But if you're a guy, any girl won't sleep with you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's so much easier for girls. They have more options than guys do.
I understand. Yeah.
And I think that degrades the relationship quality to me.
I think that, like, because I've been on dating apps, like, I think it definitely gets really exhausting. But I would say from a different perspective, because they're not really good at, like, there's a certain person I have in mind. This is like what my standards is. This is what I want. Whether I just want somebody who's active, or whether I want somebody who like went to college and is intellectual, I think it's really hard to like filter that down. So I get really tired of. I like find myself like Tinder like only lets you swipe right on so many people a day, and then after that you can't swipe right. I can go 2 weeks without being like limited on swipes because I swipe left on everybody. But I've also swiped left on people who, like just out of instinct, I just keep going left. And like, oh, man, like that person was cute. Like, I was attracted to them. I wish I had swiped right.
Okay. All
Yeah. So I think like with the too many options, they're not all good options.
Yeah. I don't like too many options is bad to me, and not just in dating, but just in life. When you have too many options and too many choices, I mean, you always have a way out. That's why marriage is supposed to be forever.
Yeah.
But because people have so many options nowadays, like they can divorce just like that. That's why everybody divorcing.
Right.
Because they have that option.
It's an option.
It's an option.
Yeah.
So I think options are. I think it's good in the beginning to have options, but I think once you find someone, cut your options off. Stop using the Tinder app. Stop dating because it's going to tempt you to.
Like in a certain stage of like the relationship you're building with that person, it should be like discussed whether like you're continuing to see other people. Now, if I met you on Tinder and we've been talking for 3 days and it's going fine, and we're talking about a first date, we have like positive interaction so far. I don't think I need to cut everybody else off because we've made no actual commitment to each other. Now, maybe we went on a first date. You're cool, but I don't know you that well. I might personally, if I'm really drawn to someone, I don't give other people attention. I just don't have the attention span to do that.
Yeah.
But as for like obligations after just the first date to like completely cut off all of my options and tell all these people that might be interested in me, oh hey, I'm not interested, and then now I'm gonna have to go back to them after the second date goes bad. I don't think so. But like at a certain point in the relationship, whether you guys have been talking for a long period of time or gone on multiple dates, there should be a conversation. Hey, I want to be exclusively talking to you.
Yeah. Obviously, the first date, you're just getting to know the person, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna really come to any real conclusion after the first date,
Yeah.
So, do you think that you can love two men equally?
Me personally,
Yeah.
no. I'm not into poly relationships. I respect other people just because like I know they all have different dynamics, but I don't think that like I have that much energy to give to both people equally.
So, do you think you can love two people just not equally?
I think I could like have strong feelings, like whether I'm in love, like love is a like strong word, whether I'm like in love with somebody and attracted to somebody or have a strong connection, I think that's possible. But like being like actual in love with two different people, I think is like, I couldn't fathom it. But
so what about you? Do you think you can love two people equally? Relationship wise?
I feel that I could do it. Have I tried it? No.
Okay.
But do I feel I could probably do it? Yeah, it just, again, depends on how you do it. Make sure you're putting out the same amount of energy to each person so no one feels left out. Or
How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
Did you feel like your parents loved each of your siblings equally?
I do.
Okay. I can't say the same. I can't say the same for my parents, but I think it's hard to love, even with your own children, to love them equally. I don't have children, but I think it's hard to really love everyone. I think you can love people to a different degree, but I do think one person will get more love than the other. I do believe that.
Because I used to feel the same with my mama. Like we used to go back and forth about that, but at the same time, she broke it down to me. She loves each and every one of us differently. You have to love people differently. I may not be able to love on you the same as I may be able to love on them. Everyone has different love languages. So my love language may be touch. I want to be touched and held all the time. Someone other love language may be words of affirmation. They want to be told, "I love you" every day, or "I missed you," like that. There's different love languages. So you can't love everyone the same. So it may feel that they're getting more attention, but that's their love language.
Sorry. So you think that applies when it comes to relationships as well?
It does. Yeah. I think it's like you have to think of it like I could like love someone more for a certain trait than I love the other person. Maybe we get along and have better conversations, but I love the dedication that the other person gives me, and I can love them equally, but I'm not going to love them in the same way, but it's going to be equal. Like it's like you have to think of it like you have 2 cups and you like fill them both up equally, but like one's filled with orange juice and one's filled like with apple juice. Like they're both filled equally, but they're different.
Okay. That's a good illustration. Yeah, that's a good illustration. I have to speak from my own experience because at one point I was talking to 2 girls at one time, and I just know based on my experience, like I just didn't have the energy for two people.
I'm the same way. Like, you have like a big heart. For me, I just like, I don't have the energy to give to both people and like go back and forth. But like for you, like you're going back and forth to two different things. I would be going back and forth to two different guys.
Right.
So yeah, for you, like it's a little bit different because you're able to like love the woman for this. And love
women
the guy
are
for
more women are more understanding. So it's like,
yeah,
she would be able to relate more. So you still get like the best friend feeling out of it. Like you get to.
Mm-hmm.
I know this because like I have a best friend and we're kind of like that, but we're not in a relationship together. So it's like, if you know what I mean, like.
You watching? I think she's giving you some hints. I'm just playing.
But no, it's like you still get that best friend feeling. We still get to go out, have fun, do things together. But at the same time, it's like
each of them fulfill your needs in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to two girls at one time, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't even realize that I was unintentionally showing the other person less attention. Like, I didn't even realize it. She just one day she just said to me, "Hey, I feel that we're drifting apart." You know, so sometimes you may feel like you love someone equally, but your actions actually will say it more to that person than what you are actually feeling.
Right.
You know, so I didn't even realize I was showing one girl more attention than the other. So I broke up with her, got with the other one, and then she broke up with me. So I ended up losing both of them. But you know, that's life, right? Let's talk about open relationships a little bit. Because open relationships is a little different from poly, and it's a little different from polygamy. So open relationships is when you know, basically you can see other people, but you guys have set guidelines on the rules. Like a lot of times they say, yeah, you can see other women, but you can't have an emotional attachment to them. So there's some rules and guidelines to having an open relationship. Do you think people can have a healthy open relationship if they follow the guidelines that was set when their relationship started?
And I think a very important part about like setting the guidelines of open relationship is like, when does this end and when does it end? Are we just doing this for like right now, or are we just doing it one time? Like we want to like have like one like crazy experience, or like, you know, like when we have our first kid, like when does it end? Like I think that's a very important thing, because like with the poly, that's like a relationship. Like relationships end when they end, but like sleeping around, I guess, or like seeing other people, like ends when like you make the conscious decision to end it.
All right. Do you think open relationships can work if you follow the guidelines set when it begins?
For me personally, or in other people's relationship?
Yes.
Oh, personally, no. I'm not okay with an open relationship, but I think other people, because I've known
you definitely have to be, again, self-confident, because I personally would feel like, again, like...
lesser.
Yeah, like someone was getting more attention than me, or
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's why I prefer all together, so we're all, you know, as one, rather than like there's two different sides. You feel me?
Yeah. Dangers though, when you're in a poly relationship or open relationship, there are some dangers that we didn't talk about. One of the dangers is some people, let's say hypothetically you're about to marry someone, or you guys are in a serious relationship, and then someone suggests, you know, open it up. There's a possibility that your partner may end up falling in love with someone else and leaving you. Do you think that's worth the risk?
I mean, like, I wouldn't do open relationships. I've known people that, like, have done it, and they successfully had it, ended it, and, like, as far as I know, like, I'm not them, I'm not in their pants, I don't know what happens, like, everything behind their closed doors, but, like, they were able to successfully do it just because they never had experienced anything else, and they just wanted to know that, like, that's not what they want. They were able to, like, discover that and just moved on. But for me, I'm just personally not into open relationships.
Would you take that risk of having your partner find you no longer of value because he found someone else? Would you take that risk in a relationship?
Probably not.
Yeah. So would you not even get into it, or would you suggest it's closing? Like for example, would you get in an open relationship if you were serious with someone? Suggest it if you're kind of like
in the beginning when it's just like just talking. I'll probably suggest it in the talking stage.
Okay.
Because you know there's not really any feelings there. We're not really attached like that.
Okay.
But definitely not if we down, like it's been 2 years in a relationship now, all of a sudden an open relationship, no.
Okay.
My past relationship ended over like him wanting an open relationship, but also like he like in his head, open relationship was he could go sleep with other women, but I couldn't sleep with other men. I couldn't even talk to other men. Like if I was like out in public with him and his friends, and I started talking to his friends more than I talked to him, he would get like extremely jealous. But he thought it was okay for me
I've
to
definitely been through that.
me to accept that he like wanted to sleep with other women, and then he would try to throw it under, oh, it's an open relationship. It's not open relationship. It's you wanting to like cheat.
Yeah.
So like I think that definitely ties back to like what you were talking about earlier, where you think like people hide it under cheat. So like open could be that way, but like it definitely depends on the dynamic and history of your relationship. Because like we were a year and a half. I was like, how are you like already like trying to experience other things, and we haven't even been with each other that long.
By the way, make sure you check out my one of the videos, because she mentioned something that is a sign of a toxic relationship. I'm going to have a video on my channel about toxic relationships, what to look out for. So you mentioned some things like him being overly jealous, talking to your friends and things like that. Those are signs you look for in a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last question. I just want to point this out. It's not even a question. I just want to point this out. Some people will say, oh, if they're religious, like they'll say, oh, well, in the Bible, God allowed men to have multiple wives, so I can have multiple girls. If God's fine with it, then I'm fine with it. So to me, I don't think that's a valid reason, because if God wanted men to have multiple wives, then he would have created Adam and gave him multiple wives. But no, God gave Adam just one wife. If God wanted Adam to have more wives, he would just make more wives for him. So I don't think, so God doesn't, if people who bring up the Bible and say they have multiple wives, well, that wasn't really God's idea. Back then women were treated as property.
Yeah.
So like if you see a girl and you wanted her, you just pick her up.
Yeah. I don't think you can like justify it with like a biblical like text and be like, oh well, like this story says this. Like even though like I like was raised in Christianity and like I do believe God's real, I don't think you could be like, well, this happened umpteen years ago, and like this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna justify it through that.
Wrap this episode, I'm gonna leave the Gwens with some advice that my Uncle Ben gave me when he got shot, and he was dying. I was holding him in my arms, blood coming down my hand. He gave me some very good advice. You know what he said to me? He said, son, if you want multiple relationships, be prepared for multiple problems. And I agree with that. I agree, the more people you have intertwined in your relationship, the more problems you're going to have. Having one wife is bad enough. Can you imagine coming home to 3 wives nagging at you?
Make sure they're happy. That's why they say happy wife, happy life.
How are you going to keep 3 wives happy? It's hard enough to keep one wife happy. Now you got to keep all 3. So, if you want that responsibility, that's on you. Me personally, I just like to deal with one woman, work on that, and hopefully we can get through life together. I believe the more partners you have, the higher your chance of catching something you don't want to get. Also, increase your chances of getting pregnant. So, I know women, they say they're on birth control, but birth control ain't 100%, and condoms break. So you do increase your chances when you have multiple partners. I just want to thank you, Gwens, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. All right. Hey, I want you guys to leave a comment below on what you guys think about the Gwens. If every week I'm going to have a different Gwen on the show. And so if you guys like the Gwens, just tell me which ones you like, and I'll have them back on the show. All right? So I really appreciate you guys coming out and talking about this polyamorous relationship. All right? All right. It's your boy, Black Spiderman. You guys stay alive and stay black. Peace.